Greetings once again, you dragon warriors out there. Duuz-Diz-Din back again with Dragon Ball Super. We continue on with the adaptation of Dragon Ball Super Superhero, where we've reached about the halfway point. Piccolo, having infiltrated the Red Ribbon Army, helps to kidnap Pan, essentially to try to convince Gohan to actually get up off of his butt and get in some action. So with Pan kidnapped, naturally Gohan goes in and he goes hard up against Gamma 1. And the thing about Gamma 1, while Gohan does show some skill at first, Gamma 1 is able to analyze, memorize, and counter his moves over time. So Gohan must go from base to Super Saiyan to potential unleash. And while we might already know where all of this leads, there's always the background stuff that's been added to this adaptation. So what changes might we see this time around, if any? Join me as I find out, won't you? Alright, Dragon Ball Super, Chapter 95, so close to 100. The Ultimate Teacher and Pupil. I wonder who that is. We see the barrier that conceals the Red Ribbon Army base dissipate. We then cut over to the police station in West Capital, where one officer who is at a monitor says, "Huh? What the?" This catches the attention of Sergeant Nuts. I like to put those nuts in my mouth if you know. Oh, no, I'm sorry. She goes over, questioning, what is it? The officer says, it's from the camera monitoring the lake. Sergeant Nuts is shocked, saying, what is all that? Oh my god, are you serious? We then cut over to the movie theater, where Krillin, 18, and Marin are coming out of the Clean God 2 movie. Okay, so, I take it it's just popular with teenagers and kids. Because Marin, who is, by this point, I had to double check, so she's around 13 at this time. I'd say she looks a lot older than that, but at the same time, this is around the age. Kids start looking a lot older than they actually are. She's about the age to go into high school, essentially, so that about tracks. But Marin comes out giddy, holding a Clean God plushie, saying, this movie was amazing too. And 18 is just absolutely just about it, saying, will these movies ever get less stupid? It probably feels a little dismissive towards something her daughter likes so much, but I know parents like that. Marin then notices, it stopped raining. But suddenly, Krillin senses something, saying, wait, that's she. Okay, so wow. Gohan's power that evaporated the rain spread all the way over to the city, dang. Both Marin and 18 notice something's up with Krillin, with Marin asking, what's up, Dad? Krillin says, could that be Gohan? But why? Who would he be fighting? Yeah, he wouldn't sense the power of the android. Suddenly, Krillin's wrist communicator goes off. He answers it going, ma'am, Krillin here. Sergeant Nuts says, apologies, I know you're off duty, but we have a situation. 18 is taken off guard by this. She wouldn't be like, who's that woman you're talking to, Krillin? Kind of situation, right? Nah, right? I don't know. Sergeant Nuts goes, we finally located the Red Ribbon Army's secret base. Krillin says, really? People suddenly are peeking over at him on his communicator, so he just shuffles behind a nearby wall off to the corner. Honestly, him crouching down like that looks more suspicious. Sergeant Nuts tells him, it's in the lake as we suspected, camouflaged via hologram. Krillin says the lake. That's where I'm sensing Gohan's chi. And now Marin's getting a little bit questioning what's going on? I don't blame them. He's just kind of being a little awkward. Krillin says, Sergeant Nuts, I've got a nasty feeling about all this, so let me scout it out alone to start with. In the meantime, can I recommend that you evacuate civilians from the area just in case? Sergeant Nuts says, will do. As Krillin hangs up, 18 comes from behind saying, Krillin, are you going somewhere? What about our restaurant plans? Yeah, the one day out with the family, having it interrupted by work. There's no way that's gonna fly. Krillin sheepishly says, sorry, sudden work thing. Oh, and there it is. 18 says, I see. And who was that woman? Krillin nervously says, what, her? Sergeant Nuts is my boss. 18 says, sure she is. I'm tagging along. God, come on, 18. Y'all have been together for how long? Then again... The insecurities of a woman. Even the most beautiful women have them. I mean, you just look at it from the perspective that 18 really cares about Krillin. And with Krillin's dedication to his work, 18 might feel like maybe he's losing interest in her or something. Silly, but it's a thing. It really is. Krillin nervously says, okay, sure, having you also might come in handy. We then cut over to Gohan going at it with Gamma 1. As Gohan goes rushing in with a strike, Gamma 1 manages to block it with one hand. But Gohan's strike starts to overwhelm Gamma 1. And he manages to completely break Gamma 1's guard, hitting him several times in the face, then looping behind him, and then kicking him down to the ground. As Gamma 1 hits the ground, he smacks his hand into the floor, saying, darn it! He struggles to his feet, but then Gohan calls out for Pan, and Gamma 1 notices this, blocks Gohan's path, as Gohan tries to rush for his daughter. Gamma 1 says, we aren't done yet, and then increasingly angry Gohan goes back in on Gamma 1. Meanwhile, the disguised Piccolo puts down Pan after pretending to threaten her, with him saying, great, looks like he's back in action. Pan goes, woohoo! And then they fist bump. What a couple of menaces. And so as Gohan continues to push back Gamma 1, the onlookers are in shock, with Dr. Hedo saying, this is absurd, while Magenta starts to grow angry. But Gamma 2, he just watches in silence. Meanwhile, as Gohan fights Gamma 1, Gohan questions, you mentioned a wicked cabal. What does that mean? As he kicks back Gamma 1. And as Gamma 1 manages to recover while landing on the floor, he pulls out his blaster. Gamma 1 calls out, I'm referring to you people. Like, you people? Oof. Gamma 1 fires off a blast at Gohan, and Gohan easily deflects it, saying, give me a break. The deflected blast lands not too far from Magenta and Carmine, who shield themselves, while Gohan calls out, says the guy whose team kidnapped a child. You're the evil ones here. And as Gamma 1 holsters his blaster, he says, never. Hedo, noticing that Gamma 1 is a little frazzled, says, remain calm, Gamma. He then calls out, go on, join in number 2. Gamma 2 rushes in saying, yes sir. But suddenly, a red ribbon armored helmet nails Gamma 2 right in the back of the head. And Gamma 2 just looks around like, hey, who did that? He knows it's Piccolo floating up in the sky, as Piccolo says, not on my watch. Gamma 2 smiles, saying, well, if it ain't King Piccolo himself. Piccolo bursts from his disguise and says, not King, just regular old Piccolo, like I already told you. And as Piccolo powers up, Gohan notices this, saying, huh? Piccolo's here. Yeah, thank you for catching up, Gohan. But as Gohan continues to fight Gamma 1, number 2 says, you really did survive. Here to get whooped by me again? Try learning your lesson. Piccolo says, I'm a smidge different than before. Oh yeah, I had to go back. He doesn't have the lines on his arms, so Piccolo has entered his ultimate state. Gamma 2 goes into a crouching position, saying, oh yeah? Well, you're not getting away again. And he launches himself at Piccolo. He tries to go in for a strike, but Piccolo manages to easily dodge it, much to Gamma 2's shock. Piccolo then grabs Gamma 2's arm, brings number 2 into position, and then knees Gamma 2 in the stomach, winding Gamma 2. He then goes in with a right hook, decking Gamma 2 in the face, but he just carries Gamma 2 with the punch, and then flings Gamma 2 a whiles away, much to Gohan's shock. And as Gamma 2 comes to a skidding halt while sliding across the floor, Gohan has Gamma 1 in a headlock as he looks back and questions, why are you here too, Piccolo? Piccolo says, that can wait. Focus on the battle. Gohan, at a loss for words, says, will do. And as Piccolo goes to land near the downed Gamma 2, Gamma 2 picks himself up, questioning, a power-up? That fast? Or were you hiding this before? Piccolo smiles, saying, I bet you're dying to know. Gamma 2 says, ever the talker. Sorry, pal, but even your new strength won't measure up to what I'm really capable of. Piccolo questions O. Meanwhile, Gohan is just thrashing Gamma 2 across the face. He then delivers several blows to Gamma 1's midsection and then kicks Gamma 1 into a nearby wall. Gohan then lets out a breath, but before he could take a moment, Gamma 1 suddenly appears behind him, trying to go in for an axe swing. Gohan manages to block, and he questions, don't you ever just give up? Gamma 1 flips away to recover from a distance, and he tells Gohan, as an android, I operate at full power until my energy is drained. Okay, so he doesn't have the infinite energy engine that 18 and 17 have. Gohan pauses and then questions, yeah? How much energy do you have left? Gamma 1 smiles, saying, if you must know, I'm at 82%. It's like Gohan's just like, that's not good. It's like, I don't know if I can keep this up for this long. It's like, I can whoop your butt, but they ain't gonna be easy. Meanwhile, over with Piccolo and Gamma 2, they're exchanging blows. And as Gamma 2 goes in for a kick, while Piccolo does manage to shield, he's knocked back through a nearby wall. Piccolo manages to stop himself, and using his telekinesis manages to hold some of the rubble in place as well. Piccolo says, crap, even my recent boost isn't enough to match him. And as Gamma 2 lands on one of the wall that Piccolo just smashed through, he says, I'm Dr. Heto's masterpiece, you see, he says with a smug smile. Piccolo says, that's so. And you obey his every command? Gamma 2 readies his blaster, saying, sure do. That's what we were made for. Piccolo then flings the rocks he was levitating at Gamma 2, who uses his blaster to blast all of them. However, that blast kicks up a lot of dust and smoke, causing Gamma 2 to shield his eyes. Not with him noticing only at the last moment Piccolo appearing right above him. Piccolo goes in for a kick that knocks Gamma 2 down towards the ground. Before he can hit the ground, Gamma 2 then uses his blaster to not only recover, but launch himself right back at Piccolo, much to his shock. And Gamma 2, still carried by the momentum of his blaster, goes in for a kick, nailing Piccolo right in the chin, sending Piccolo flying. The sequence in that moment, beautiful. Wasn't this at a point where they were supposed to have that fight on the train? I think some of the choreography for this fight has been changed. I only remember that because I really loved that moment. I could have sworn. Maybe it's too early. Maybe it'll appear later. So as Piccolo is knocked away, Gohan sees this. Gohan then knocks away Gamma 1's arm and kicks Gamma 1 away. Gohan then goes racing in to catch Piccolo before he can hit the ground. He then sets Piccolo down, asking, you okay? Piccolo recovers a bit, saying, yeah. The two of them notice that they're surrounded by the Gammas, and in a very awesome moment, Gohan and Piccolo stand back to back, with Piccolo saying, listen well, Gohan. We're up against androids, so dragging this out won't do us any good. Gohan says, right. Gotta love how he listens to Piccolo. Piccolo then tells him, we've got to finish this in one go. Gohan says, got it. And they both rocket towards their opponents. Gohan against Gamma 1. Piccolo against Gamma 2. Gohan charges up his fist. Piccolo charges up his foot. And they both connect on 1 and 2. A massive explosion goes off, with Carmine, Magenta, and Hedo needing to shield their eyes from the blast. Gammas 1 and 2 are knocked towards opposite ends of the Red Ribbon Army base. We then cut over with Gohan and Gamma 1, with Gohan not letting up on his attack. As Gamma 1 picks himself off of the rock face that he was knocked into, he notices Gohan coming at him. He dodges out of the way just as Gohan was about to connect. But once again, Gamma 1 isn't able to catch his bearing. As Gohan hasn't stopped, he's back on him. Gamma 1 pulls out his blaster and fires it out at Gohan, who easily manages to flex all of the blasts. He then headbutts Gamma 1 away, with Gohan continuing to chase down Gamma 1. Hedo looks on saying, "Oh dear, number one." Meanwhile, as Piccolo and Gamma 2 continue to grapple, Gamma 2 sees that number one is in trouble, so he kicks Piccolo in the stomach, wounding Piccolo. Number 2 then uses his blaster to pepper Piccolo with a few shots, causing Piccolo to stagger back. Gamma 2 then takes aim at Gohan, charges up a blast and fires it off. Gohan sees it coming though and manages to easily dodge, but Gamma 2 isn't done yet, firing off several more blasts. Ooh, some nice dodges by Gohan, who's obviously starting to get a little bit frustrated. But Gamma 2 notices at the last second that Piccolo has picked up a nearby chunk of wall and tries to slam it down on Gamma 2, who manages to dodge out of the way. Gamma 2 then lands next to Gamma 1, who's standing on the edge of the rock face of the lake. Number 2 then says to 1, "Let's take him out one at a time. Who's first up, Piccolo or Son Gohan?" Number 1 pauses and then says, "Say, number 2, are they really part of a wicked cabal?" Number 2 says, "Duh, of course they are. You heard Dr. Hedo, right?" Number 1 says, "Yes, he did say that." I love the moment of questioning that number 1 has. It's just like, they're not fighting like they're bad guys. Meanwhile, over with Piccolo and Gohan, Piccolo questions, "So got some fight in you, Gohan?" Gohan calls out, "This guy's like a brick wall. I haven't had any luck in taking him down." Piccolo says, "I'm not faring much better. We're in trouble if this goes on much longer." Though he says that with a smile. Piccolo's like, "This is the most fun I've had in a long time." It does help that their opponents aren't terrible people either. Gammas 1 and 2 then launch themselves at their opponents. It looks as though they've decided to go for Piccolo. As Piccolo calls out, "Coming for me?" Gohan can only look on in shock saying, "Oh no." As 1 and 2 simultaneously kick Piccolo in the stomach and then just start drilling him into the ground. Gohan goes racing in, chasing after the androids and Piccolo. Gohan manages to grab onto Gamma 1 saying, "Quit it!" And he manages to pull Gamma 1 back, much to the shock of number 2. Piccolo manages to grab Gamma 2's foot, and as they come smashing out of the other end of the ground that they were on, Piccolo takes Gamma 2 and flings him into a nearby rock face. Gamma 2 manages to instantly pull himself away from the rock, but then he notices Piccolo up on the top of the rock face, charging something special. Piccolo tells Gamma 2, "It's a shame." Number 2 questions, "What is?" And Piccolo tells him, "You don't seem like you're actually bad. Just someone following idiotic orders." Gamma 2 is shocked by this statement. And then Piccolo fires off his Makan Kosapo special beam cannon. Gamma 2 breaks out his Badia and manages to block the blast that dissipates around the shield, and the energy just dissipates in massive chunks that hit around where Hedo, Magenta, and Carmine are. Gamma 2 then says to Piccolo, "Dr. Hedo's orders could never be wrong." Piccolo tells him the orders may come from him, but Magenta's been giving him bad intel. Ever consider that? Number 2 is shocked, and number 2 flies up a little bit, and as Hedo calls out, "All good, number 2?" we see Magenta getting a cigar from Carmine, and he says, "Let's get this over with. You know how much time and dough we went into making those buckets of bolts." Number 2 obviously thinks about it for a second and then gets frustrated. Piccolo smiles, saying, "You're starting to see the big picture, right?" But number 2 is angry, saying, "Shut up. No, it can't be. No way." And then he rushes Piccolo, kicking Piccolo in the face, sending Piccolo flying. And number 2 doesn't let up. He grabs Piccolo by the ankle and then flings him into a nearby wall. He then goes in again, knocking Piccolo to the ground. He continues to do so as Piccolo falls, hitting him over and over and over again, and Piccolo can't recover. Piccolo thinks to himself, it's over for me. And as Gamma 2 goes in for one more hit, bringing Hammer Fist right down on Piccolo, causing Piccolo to plummet into the depths of the Red Ribbon Army base, Piccolo continues to fall. But then the words of Shenron echo, "I threw in a bit extra." The visage of the eternal dragon Shenron envelops Piccolo, and Piccolo awakens. The symbol for the Namekian Ajisa tree shines on Piccolo's back. A blinding light emanates from the depths of the Red Ribbon Army base. Gamma 2 can only shield his eyes as energy erupts from the depth, catching the attention of Gohan. And as they see Gamma 2 fall back, Gamma 1 and Gohan can only look on stunned as a massive orange Piccolo rises. Yeah, baby. Interesting stuff. They definitely made some changes to the fight, because I don't remember Gohan and Piccolo interacting so much during the course of the fight. I don't even remember Gammas 1 and 2 interacting that much. So, some interesting team-up attacks. Because I will admit, that was something that did kind of catch my attention, is that we never actually got to see Gamma 1 and 2 really play off each other in terms of combat. Especially as this adaptation has kind of been noting, they were more or less kind of based off of the duo or togetherness of Trunks and Gohan, or Goten, in their Saiyaman X1 and X2 design. And while the two of them would usually work separately in a lot of occasions, they were at their strongest when they worked together. So both adaptations have their ups and downs, because I really did love how in the movie we just were going all over the place with the fights. But here, while we did change a lot of the locations, and there was some great paneling work in this, we didn't change the locations enough. And that was something I was really kind of loving before. But aside from that, solid stuff, solid work. And we've had our first big major transformation. So we're racing towards the climax of all of this. I can see about 5 more chapters at most. Either this adaptation will end at chapter 100, or we'll start the new story arc at chapter 100. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about this combat and this action? Was it thrilling for you, or do you feel like the movie did a better job? Again, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the ride, and until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.